Hi, how you doing? Oz here. A little while ago I recorded a video looking at the etymology of the word Chancery, used in classical pugilism. And I asked in that video for any suggestions of other words that you might be interested in. And Nova Critter suggested the word Rapier. I happen to have one, and it's a very interesting word, so I thought that that might be a fun thing to look at. Now, a rapier is a predominantly thrusting weapon. They often have fairly complex hilts, though some of the early English rapiers didn't. They had much simpler hilts. This is a swept hilt, which is a fairly traditional Italian style. This is a relatively cheap one, so don't get all excited about that. There are a number of different hilts, but the essential defining characteristic of a rapier, if you like, is that it has a relatively slim blade. It tends to be double-edged, and it comes to quite a point, and it's designed for predominantly thrusting, though often they can cut. Some rapier saucers don't have any cutting in at all, some do, but the rapier is known as a predominantly thrusting weapon. So that's what the rapier is, but obviously it's an unusual word. And the etymology of it is fairly similar to a lot of words in the English language, in that it comes from an almost identical French word. So in the way that the English have over the last 2,000 years, we've effectively just taken words from other languages and decided to use them. It's one of the reasons that English vocabulary is so big, and it's one of the reasons we have a number of words that have very similar meanings. So rapier in English comes from the French word rapier, but interestingly, rapier doesn't have a particularly clear etymology in French. It's often considered to be a derivation of the word raspier. And if that's the case, I think it's quite amusing, because clearly that's not a particularly complimentary word. It's thought to be an almost derisory term for a sword, because raspier translates as either poker or scraper. So it's not a particularly complimentary word to describe what is, in actual fact, quite a beautiful sword. Now, you would expect me, as a big fan of George Silver, to be very anti-rapier, and in some ways I am, but in some ways I'm not. The thing to bear in mind, for those of you that are familiar with Silver, is that whilst he describes the rapier as a false weapon, and he explains why, it's obviously not that false, because he's quite happy to fight with one. When he challenges Saviolo, he's quite happy to challenge him at rapier. But anyway, that's the story of rapier as best we know. If you've got any alternative theories, please let me know. I'd love to hear them. And I hope to see you around soon. If you've got any other suggestions for other words, do let me know. There's quite a lot in pugilism that I'm planning on doing some videos on. But if you've got anything you'd like to know about, do let me know. It's always fun looking at etymology of the words in English martial arts. So take care, guys, and I'll see you around.